Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. If you'd like to be part of the Moon Griffon Show, it's open forum Friday. And by the way, I got a gentleman here who's going to sit in here the rest of the program. He's been here before. I've been on his program. He broadcasts in North Carolina. He's also one of the voices, or the voice, for Coastal Carolina, which a few years ago won the national championship in baseball. It was Cinderella because nobody even heard of them down here. But on the flip side, they're back. They're having a really good year. His name is Joe Catenacci. It's say it again. Catenacci. How about that? So we're going to call it Joe Cats because that's everybody. I see why.
Yeah, that's right.
By the way, I messed up Joe, so Catenacci's out. Good to see you again, man.
What's up, my man? Doing well. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. I'm hanging in there despite me. And battling in a battle every day, brother.
And that's what we're doing in North Carolina, trying to keep those establishment suits in check, and that's what we do every day.
Yeah, but the difference between y'all and us is y'all actually got an economy with people moving too. Y'all, we got an economy, people are leaving. Y'all probably got a bunch of our people up there.
We have people from all over the country coming to North Carolina, whether it be in our little mountainous area known as Appalachia, all the way to the coast. We have people coming in from all sorts and all sizes and all states.
But the businesses, it's got to be because of jobs. Tell me I'm wrong.
We are booming. There's no question. All the way from the Raleigh area, which is our state capital, which is more into the tech side of things, down in the coast, my area, more of the imports and exports. We have our two ports in North Carolina are breaking all types of records. We're 60% above the capacity.
Are you hearing any of this in Louisiana? Because we got as good a ports as anybody.
You have access.
But I'm not hearing about that.
We're lucky if we don't lose businesses.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's such a fight here. But we're constantly fighting our ever-growing government here.
And that's one of the things that we have done in the last 8 years. So North Carolina, the history of our state government for 120 years since Reconstruction, we were controlled by Democrats. That was until 2010 when Republicans swept in. They control a supermajority in our state legislature. Our 2 U.S. senators are Republicans. 10 of our 13 congressional members in D.C. are Republican. Except our governor, who's an attorney and a Democrat.
We got one of those too, but we got ours because of the backsliding and backstabbing that went on. But the bottom line is, I hate to tell you, we control the House, we control the Senate. Our 2 senators are Republicans, but we're not doing all that. We're not. I wish we. As a matter of fact, we are capable of doing that. But when you focus on government more than the private sector, you know when private sector grows, government grows with it. But you notice if government grows, the private sector doesn't go with it. I wonder why it works like that.
We have something called in our state now that we're headed into midterm elections in November, sue until NC is blue, because that is what Democrats are doing. They have no message. Their empty message of progressive politics for 30 years has gone nowhere. So they have no more new ideas or fresh ideas other than more government. So
I hate to tell you, we got a motto too. Sue all in gas, because we're going to kick their... Hey, Joe, I tell you what you're doing. I told you this on your show. When you have I-49, which turns into 90, and that is the heart and all in gas of our really good small to big businesses. They are the heart and soul of what's happened here for many, many years. Used to, when you went down, there were signs. Hey, you need a job? Hey, we hiring 100 people. Hey, 401k benefits starting at $80,000, starting at $25 an hour. Now when you go, it's, hey, have you been hurt in an offshore accident? Hey, have you been hit in a car accident? Joe, matter of fact, some lady, and I need to find it, Brandon, probably. Some lady told me from one point to another point, she went south and north. Going one way, she counted 39 lawyer signs. Coming back the other way was 60. 99 in a stretch of, if you've been hurt, if you've been hurt. And by the way, we got the highest automobile insurance and liability. See, Joe, our state has got, and I told you this earlier today, great people. We love our culture. We love a lot of things here, but we got it bass-ackwards when it comes to put businesses first and government second. And until we change that, Joe, we're not going to be in North Carolina.
And I think that is the way the cookie crumbles, in that as government expands, the private industry goes away. The more regulations, the more potential for lawsuits. It chases away and scares away a private business and industry from coming here.
Well, you got in-migration. Your state's growing. We have out-migration. We've only one of 3 states, or 8 states. I can't forget the number, and not to mention median income. The only reason they showed it grow, it's just showed it's grown some, is they're counting Medicaid and the number of jobs because we've expanded the Medicaid program. And we got a lot of poor people. And I'm all for having a safety net for helping people, but we're expanding it to people who make up the, I forget the number on a percentage, but it's people that are not even working. They just go get free health care.
Well, we're trying to change that, I guess, at the top. And, of course, they're going to get fought back in that, if you're willing and able to, produce, that means have a job. There's going to be some requirements, hopefully, coming down from Washington that affects that. But with that said, you're going to have an enormous amount of obstacles and hurdles to get over if you want to get people back to work. And again, I think there's nothing better than going in and putting in a hard day's work, no matter what you do or how you do it, and be able to put food on your table.
You have a lot of pride when you do that. Let's go to the phone lines. We got Harold in Lafayette. Joe Catenacci is joining me. Harold, how you doing?
Doing real good, sir. We're talking about the state's fiscal problem. That I was involved in the 73 Constitution with Ron Gomez, and some of the fundamental ills of the state were really not addressed. It was brought to the fore, and it was quickly dismissed as something that shouldn't be changed. And one of those issues is the state land office. The state cannot tell you within 1 million acres what it owns. And
within 1 million acres? God have mercy.
We got 1 million. We don't know what we own because the boundary between public and state land generally is a high water mark along the bayous, the lakes, the rivers, and that's never been surveyed.
Mm-hmm.
So in that unknown is millions and billions of dollars worth of oil and gas revenues, the public's rights to hunt and fish, all those issues are in that. And our state land office has 11 people in the cellar of one of the state buildings. Texas has 879 people in a 12-story building. They've taken care of 225 counties. Our 11 people are taking care of 64 parishes.
Mm-hmm.
There was one of the candidates that was suggested for the state land officer. He said he wouldn't take the job unless they'd allow him to hire 250 people.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, very poorly manned office are issues that cost taxpayers mega millions of dollars. The state land, the without knowing where the boundary is between high and low water, that unknown allows timber and allows oil and gas royalties and hunting and fishing rights go into private hands. It's so bad that people claim land and lease it. At Butler Road, you have about 60 lots on the bed of Butler Rose Bay that's claimed by private parties, and they're collecting leases, annual leases on it. So the list goes on and on. You look at the taxes on swampland and marshland. There's one property owner in Vermilion Parish in White Lake, and by the way, a lake shouldn't be property, but that big property owner there owns 24,000 acres, and in 2016, that taxes was $2,400.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 49% of property tax in Vermilion Parish goes to the schools. On 24,000 acres, you don't have enough revenue to pay a teacher 1 month. It's no wonder that the teachers of Vermilion Parish haven't received a pay raise in 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder that our educational program is at the bottom of all 50 states.
Yeah, but I differ with you a little bit on that because, if teachers aren't making money or making a good living, that's a priority problem with us. We've had plenty of money to do all that stuff. Here's what happens, Harold, in my opinion. What happens is we get in trouble. We get in trouble because we don't have priorities. We don't take care. We can't be everything to everybody, and we've become everything to everybody. We got money going to NGOs in the billions of dollars. That's non-governmental organizations. C.B. Ferguson, the late C.B. Ferguson, who, by the way, was in to help write the Constitution when you were down there, has said this over and over again. Two things we're doing that are bad. Number one is paying for non-governmental organizations. They're not part of the government. They shouldn't get. And number two, the amount of money we send back to local governments. If somebody wants a golf course, a lake, if they want a sidewalk, then put it back on the people back home. Don't come to the state of Louisiana and say, hey, we need this money. And all these elected officials bring back a lot of money based on what? So when you say that, I kind of disagree a little bit in the fact that, the state cannot be everything to everybody. Some people would say that's why they want to have the Constitutional Convention. I understand that, but I want to know who's going to get to go to this Constitutional Convention and how it's going to be set up. That's all I'm saying. It's not a perfect document, but we beat it to pieces, too.
A lot of the legislators were involved, and I think each parish appointed members to a committee. And then citizens could participate, so you could go sit in on and raise issues and participate. And, one of the issues is the sovereignty lands of the state. Lands subject to navigation and title exchange belong to the state.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that should be recognized and supported by our Constitution. It's not.
Well, I'll tell you what, time will tell. Anyway, look, thanks, Harold. Thank you for everything. We got to take a break. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Don't forget, David Vitter, former Senator David Vitter, will be part of this program at 10:06. He says we need to have one, and I can't wait to visit with him. We'll take a break and be right back. I'll show you how to eat a real oyster. Joe Cass, my special guest, and of course he's from North Carolina. Welcome back, Moon Griffon Show. And Joe, real quick before we take some more phone calls and stuff, Joe's here. Coastal Carolina, which won a national championship a few years ago in baseball, is actually playing against the Raging Cajuns tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. You're probably looking forward to that because they've been playing well lately, and Coach Robichaux is a really great coach, and it ought to be a competitive series.
No doubt. And the ballpark over there, Russo Park, is in fabulous condition.
Pretty.
I mean, it is, I'll say next year, the Sun Belt tournament, it's down here. So we'll be back in late May. So we're here. And then 2 weeks later, we'll be back here. Next year, you all should come out to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, because that's where we'll have it next year. Coastal Carolina. You're more than welcome.
You got a place for me to stay?
We've got some supporters of the program that could put you up for a weekend.
Just give me.
Bring your golf clubs.
I don't know nothing about that. I can fish, though.
All right, well, we can do that.
I can definitely do it.
I don't know if you're going to be able to fit on my little John boat. You're a big dude.
It don't matter. We'll take we'll get somebody to take us out. I'll pay for it. We'll take us out and catch something big.
I can do that.
There's a lot of good fishing over there.
Oh yeah, well we're about 30 miles offshore from the Gulf Stream. So once you get offshore 30 miles, I mean they're biting all over the place. It just depends on the time of year.
Well, think about it. It'll be in May.
Oh, let's do it.
I would love to go do that and watch a little baseball. Brandon probably don't want to come, but we can brag him if he wants to.
What? Go to North Carolina. It'd be beautiful, man.
Go over there about 3 or 4 nights. How long is the drive, or did you fly?
We flew into Baton Rouge and then traveled across that 18-mile bridge.
I'll tell you right now, I would fly.
Yeah, oh yeah, no doubt. So when we come back here for the Sun Belt tournament, we're going to fly in, but because we don't know our fate, how long we'll be here, we have a 14-hour bus ride back home. No matter, even if we are the Sun Belt champions.
When you said 14 hours, I'm definitely flying. I'll book my plane ticket now and get a discount.
It's a real hop, skip, and a jump, man. Right through Atlanta.
What's the plane ride?
We go through Atlanta into...
Well, Atlanta's an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, so it's about 2 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Brandon, you do the 14 hours. I don't mind paying for
the producers never get any love on these programs.
I said if he wants to.
He's paying, right? Brandon?
I always wanted to go North Carolina, South Carolina area. I've never been to that. I've been to Atlanta, but I've never been to that part of the country there. I've been to New York. I've been to the West Coast and stuff, but I've never been there. That is a great opportunity to go.
I've been to South Carolina for Raging Cajun Sports before. I've been through North Carolina on a class trip up to Washington, so didn't really get to stop and enjoy, but got to see the beauty going through North Carolina. It's unbelievable.
Well, I'm hoping that the Cajuns and the Warhawks can both get there. Then I'll have my home place that I graduated from there and the Cajuns, and it'd be a great road trip for me.
Yeah, by the way, we swept the Warhawks last week in 3 games.
By the way, I figured you would. They're a lot better than they were, but they're still struggling down in the conference.
Nothing better. This is great baseball. I mean, the Sun Belt Conference, we're here now. This is our second full season. It's a great part of the country.
Is this a better conference than y'all were in?
Yeah, compared to the Big South. We were playing some
Who were you playing in that conference?
People you don't even have never heard of. Presbyterian.
I've heard of them. I've never heard of Coastal.
Until we put a big...
Then I looked up and y'all come here and you go to LSU. And then you go win the whole thing, and I'm sitting there going, wow. And that's the dream of every mid-major. I'm sorry it is.
One of the great things I think about the fans, sports fans here in Louisiana, is that in between the lines, while the clock is going down, or when the first pitch happens to the final out, boy, you guys can get after the away team like anybody. But before the game and after the game, it's just the competitiveness that turns out, and I think that's a great part of what Louisiana is the sports fans here.
If we were playing y'all to party, we would beat the hell out of y'all. Tailgating and post game, we beat y'all.
So I came down to a LSU game a long time ago when Tim Tebow was playing for Florida, and it was the first time I ate gator in Baton Rouge in Death Valley. Saw the LSU Florida game, and then
that the one they beat Tebow in?
I know the one Tebow beat LSU.
That was the jump pass.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that.
I was at that game,
but they beat Tebow when they were really good. And that was a good game as well.
I think I partied for about 72 hours straight that day. I was in college then, a little bit different nowadays.
But you married with kids?
That's right.
You can't hang with the people. The people down there keep doing that with kids. But if you don't live here with kids, you can't do that no more. I'm just telling you, it is what it is. Let's go. Let's see. We got Jim somewhere in Louisiana. Jim, how you doing?
Morning, man. You were on the other day and talking about the Louisiana insurance rates, and you mentioned Texas, and I have it on good authority that Louisiana is going to lower, with State Farm going to lower rates once the state of Louisiana approves it. Of course, I think that's kind of funny that the state of Louisiana has to approve a rate decrease, but State Farm is doing the same thing in Louisiana as they did in Texas, it looks like, and we should have a little...
By the way, somebody and I forgot to do this. Somebody emailed me the other day and said, "Hey, Moon, I heard about that, but we're going to do that here too." Well, we need to do it about 14 times in a row because we're the highest in the country. You know what I'm saying? One little bitty break for $35, but if you go to these other states, they're just not nearly as high as us when it comes to automobile insurance. I mean, we're ridiculous.
Moon, we're second only to West Virginia in lawsuits per capita. Okay,
no.
You're talking about those billboard signs. That's, I know the guy's got to make a living, and I got friends and all that. But, this is, look, we're a poor state. Y'all know that. And it's a little absurd when you deal with people like I do, and they move in here from other states, and you turn them away, literally, because you scare the living daylights out of them when they move in here from Missouri.
When you go down the road and you see a sign, if you have an ingrown toenail, give us a call. We're going to sue somebody. When you go down the road, somebody say, if you didn't cut your toenails right, that's the kind of stuff we do here. And I don't care what anybody says. I want a good lawyer when I got to have one too. But it's gotten to the point that, when you got your own governor, go and tell the parishes. His natural resource guy is sitting at the committee saying, yeah, suit oil and gas company, which is the goose that laid the golden egg for this state for darn near 50, 60, 70 years. When you're doing that, you don't need to be the governor anymore. Just go sue everybody. They don't do that in Texas.
No, we got to rein something in. Here's one of my favorite statements. We got the worst roads in the United States. We don't have anyone to fix them, so scratch that off the list. We're now rated as the worst drivers in the United States. Scratch that off the list because you ain't going to teach people to drive without making them take a driving ed course. But lawsuits could be cut down with an ink pen, and I'd give them knuckleheads in Baton Rouge the ink pen. I've offered to give them about that.
Don't worry about that. They'll buy 2 zillion of them. They'll be giving them out everywhere. Well, I think your point's well taken. We will see a little decrease because I'm hearing this now from all kind of people, so you're probably right. But it's just frustrating that we allow the governor. We voted for a governor who is helping parishes sue the goose that laid golden eggs. Yet those parishes benefited greatly when things were going good, and that's my frustration. I got to go. Joe Catenacci is in the house. He'll stay with us. Former Senator David Vitter will join us. He says we need a constitutional convention. We'll find out why when we get back. Hello, welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Okay, we've had many guests on this program, many times a gentleman that hasn't been on here in a while, but it's great to have him back. Former Senator David Vitter joins us. David, how you doing, man? Okay, David, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, man. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing real well. It has been too long. Good to hear your voice. Good to visit.
Hey, David, a couple of things real quick before we get into the Constitutional Convention. Number one, people want to know what you've been doing. And I just thought it'd be a great opportunity to tell us what you've been doing. And then I got one other question, but it's about your bride, and this would be a good question for you. But just what are you doing now that you're, not really in politics anymore?
Well, I'm mostly feeling relaxed, enjoying life, and enjoying family. But in terms of work, I am lobbying and lawyering. So I work with two different firms, one on the law side, because I'm a lawyer, attorney by training, business attorney, and one on the lobbying side. And I work all sorts of, different issues and legal situations, which are interesting. But again, my main answer is I'm sort of feeling relaxed, enjoying life.
I know you got to be excited for your wife getting ready to be a federal judge. At least I think she's going to get the votes to become a federal judge. Just your comments on that. I know Wendy visited with her many times.
Well, she is really humbled by President Trump's nomination. He's nominated her to be a district judge in the federal Eastern District of Louisiana, which basically covers southeast Louisiana. She's very humbled by it, and she's excited by that prospect. She's going through the Senate confirmation process now, and I certainly agree with you. It's taken a while because it just always takes a while for everyone, but she'll get through, and she's real excited about it.
What last question on that, is this going to happen in the next month? I mean, I know this takes a while, but will this happen in the next month? I mean, what's the problem?
It won't be wrapped up in the next month. So she had her hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee about 2.5 weeks ago, and she'll be voted on by the committee and voted out of committee favorably probably in about another 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then she'll be voted on the floor. Now, that will take a while just because there is a list of pending judicial nominations, and she'll go in turn. But it'll happen, so she's very excited about the prospects. I can say, I guess, more than she can. She's very modest, but she is just super prepared and qualified for the role. She's, as you know, she's had a legal career in a lot of different capacities, a prosecutor, a civil litigator, National General Counsel to the Archdiocese of New Orleans. So I know she'll do a super job.
All right, Senator David Vitter, my special guest, of course, been a Louisiana senator for many years. All right, I'll be honest with you, the Constitutional Convention, out of all the people's names I've read for this, and I know you're lobbyists, and so people say, "Hey, come help us push this."
Right.
I was a little shocked. Your name popped up first to say, "Hey, we're going to push it." So why are you getting involved in this, and why do you think we need this?
Well, I think we need to straighten out the situation in our state, and a lot of those issues have to be done through some constitutional changes. As you know, Moon, our Constitution is very, very prescriptive. It is 10 times longer than the U.S. Constitution. It's now 75,000 words. It's actually 2.5 times longer than it was when it was originally adopted in 1973. That's because it's been amended 189 times in 44 years. And what that means is it is very prescriptive and constraining in some ways, particularly on the spending side, which I'm concerned about. We need to cut and streamline spending, and the Constitution makes that difficult. There are 35 dedicated funds and sub-funds that you can't move around without a constitutional change. And so to get the sort of streamlined, rational government that I think you and I both want to see, we need some significant constitutional changes. And that's why a broad group of business and civic groups and individuals that I'm working with, lobby in many chambers, Louisiana Family Forum, many others, support this constitutional convention idea. Now, it has to be done right. The devil's in the details. Anything important, the devil's in the details. And it has to be a people's convention, not a politician's convention, not an insider's convention.
David, let's just be blunt. Now, you said a lot. Let me just back up with you a little bit.
Sure.
Dedicated funds. You mentioned that. You mentioned spending. First of all, there's not a constitutional convention or a new constitution that will ever stop overspending. If I was your financial guy and you had a problem with spending, and I consolidated everything you had into one bill and saved you a bunch of money a month, and you go back out there and start spending, you're going to run into the same problem. Now, you've campaigned on it many, many times. We have a spending problem. How in the world can a constitutional convention change the spending problem we have? That's not going away.
Well, certainly, Moon, you're right that ultimately is up to the legislature and the governor in terms of how they proceed and how they act. But the present Constitution makes cutting spending more difficult than it should be with all of these protected funds and sub-funds, 35 different protected funds and sub-funds. So I'm talking about making that cutting and streamlining a lot easier than it is now.
But, Senator, I mean, I know I'm calling you Senator, and I know you're not a Senator, but to me you still are. David.
David works.
Okay,
whatever.
I know, but Senator comes out of my mouth every time I think about you. David, but here's the problem with everything you said, and I'm listening to the arguments. I'm not, this ain't to fuss at you or anybody. I'm just telling you, I'm getting all these people to come through. The dedicated funds were dedicated. You know that. You were there. They were dedicated because we didn't want them to go spend money on everything. We would never dedicated all those funds, but we had to because we didn't trust the lawmakers. Now, I got to tell you, there was a bill that was put out by Lance Harris, Brett Guyman, your friend Cameron Henry a few years ago. And you know what the bill was going to do? Undedicate every penny that they possibly can undedicate. Those guys got beat up so bad by the people that were getting the dedicated money, supplemental pay, education, the lottery money, $159 million. Go, David, if you take away all those dedications in the Constitutional Convention, you're going to lose the vote because all those people are going to vote against it. There's no way for you to take away those dedications.
You're certainly right. There are plenty of special interests that are trying to protect those dedications. That's absolutely true. And you're certainly right. They've been built up over time fundamentally because of voters' legitimate distrust of government. But the unintended consequence at the end of the day, after decades of these dedications, is it makes it tougher to do what needs to be done on the spending side.
Okay, listen, though. If there were constitutional amendments that went out there and we the people voted for it, why couldn't the 3 or 4 or 5 constitutional amendments put out front for everybody to know that's what's going to take place? Why can't that fix it, Senator? David, why can't that fix it?
And Moon, if you remember when I was running for governor, that's what I proposed. I didn't propose a constitutional convention. I said I was going to take the lead on a menu, a significant number of proposed constitutional
Correct.
amendments.
That's why I'm throwing this at you, because I know you.
Done that way.
Yeah, but I know you. I know what you wanted to do.
And, yeah, it's not being done that way. This governor has never even tried that because, quite frankly, Moon, he doesn't want to make the changes we're talking about. He just wants to whine about the restrictions in order to try to pass higher taxes.
And by the way, we're agreeing on that, but I think that would be a better way to do it, David, because when we get there, first of all, who's going to go? To me, it's going to be a big concern. But number two is these dedications are getting us there. I'm scared what they're going to do once they get there. Now, let me give you an example. You were, when you were in the House, you led the charge to get to where we have 2/3 votes on taxes and fees. We were so happy you got that. You were the main guy. And I had a lot of other people helping you. Yeah. David, if they get in there and they get rid of the 2/3 votes on taxes and fees, they don't need anything else. Because now you got a majority vote. But aren't you worried about that? That's something you pushed.
Well, certainly any constitutional convention could propose things that you and I disagree with. Now, it doesn't just happen because they propose it. It goes to the voters. I am absolutely confident that the sort of change you're describing would be rejected by the voters. Voters are not going to lower the threshold for raising taxes.
Yeah, so, but let me ask this question real quick. No, this question, let me tell you what worries me. And by the way, we take a break if you can stay one more segment. What worries me is I'm scared, and you know me, I'm pro-business, big, small, medium, and we need it here, and we need that to change. I'm scared big business, real big business, will get in this, and big government will get in this, and what they're going to do is cut a deal. Big business is going to get whatever they want, and government guys that want to raise taxes are going to get what they want. And if they do, the middle class and the small business guys screwed. David, that's what I'm concerned about this convention.
Well, I hear you. Maybe after the break we can talk about, because a lot comes down to who the delegates are.
Absolutely.
And so we are demanding that these be elected delegates, not appointed insiders, not the governor's appointees, not anyone like that, not businesses' appointees, but elected delegates.
Well, and let me ask you a quick question on that, because the way this is set up, and I'm taking it you're supporting House Bill 500. Maybe you're not, but in that bill, what they
500 as amended in the Appropriations Committee,
okay, well,
there were major amendments adopted.
Yeah, one of the bills said that we're going to have this election when all the representatives and senators and the governor is running in 2019. And I'm sitting here going, if I want to run, I'm on the ballot twice to run for a House or Senate seat and run for that. And they'll be the ones that get the money. You can have a lot of the people that are there now that could fix it, that caused the problem, running for the delegates of this convention.
Well, certainly I agree with you. We don't want a convention just of all legislators. I absolutely agree with that.
Okay, quick break. Senator David Vitter, my special guest. Hey, David, we'll come back another 5 or 6 minutes.
Sure.
I just got a couple questions on a couple other ideas, and we'll bring you back. Sure. Former Senator David Vitter for the Constitutional Convention. We'll take a break, be right back. Hi, hello, welcome back, Moon Griffon Show. Former Senator David Vitter, my special guest. And David is helping lobby for the Constitutional Convention in 2020, and I think pretty much pushing House Bill 500 if you want to go read it and check it out. And David, thanks for being part of the program. David, I want to go back.
And let me just note, Moon.
Yeah, go ahead.
If anybody goes to HB 500, you need to look at the newest version as amended in committee, because there were some very significant, important, positive changes put on that we were for, that have all been adopted.
Yeah. By the way, if you go to the bill, Louisiana Legislature, they'll show the regular bill, then they'll show all the amendments and stuff that change it. So you got to really go to the last one that they voted on, because that's going to be the one that y'all wanted.
There's also a lot of good information on a website, Fixit 2020, FIXIT 2020. That's put on by the coalition of civic groups behind this, including Louisiana Family Forum, including GNO Inc., and many chambers of commerce.
All right, couple of 3 things pretty quick. Term limits is something you fought for. We didn't get the term limit bill you originally wanted. I think that will be on the table, excess itemized deduction. And the big one nobody's talking about, and I know big business, lobby, I talked to Wagaspack, they want homestead exemption gone and off the table. Here's my beef with the whole thing, too. I think all these type things need to be discussed in public. And that's why I think the way you wanted to do it, a constitutional amendment explaining this to people, is easy, because, as you know, Senator, we pass constitutional amendments and people don't even read them. How in the world are they going to read a whole book on a new constitution? And that's what worries me. But what about homestead exemption, term limits, and things of that nature? Term limits is something that you fought for.
I'm completely in favor of term limits, and I'd like it even tighter. That would not be in the scope of this convention, Moon. As you probably know, this bill would not have a wide-open constitutional convention. It would be focused on fiscal issues. So the term limits provision would not be under debate one way or the other. Certainly any spending matter, any tax matter would. Personally, I support the homestead exemption, so I wouldn't favor that. But it would be within the scope of it. All of this would be absolutely in the light of day. I mean, this would be a big public debate. To call a constitutional convention just a handful we've ever done in our history, this would be the first one since 1973. It would be extremely public, so there'd be a lot of public discussion about all of this. And, of course, ultimately, it's decided by the people. Any revision only gets adopted by the majority of the people voting for it at an election. Oh,
no doubt about it. And I tell people our only fallback will be if it comes to the vote of the people. My big concern about that is how many millions and millions of dollars would be spent on the other side. And I'm telling you, most people don't follow this. and that bothers me. But I just, you worked hard on term limits. I'm glad that will not be part of the deal.
Right.
I just want to throw this at you. Dedicated, if you talk to the general public, and you even talked about it when you first came on, about our budget, about the dedicated funds. David, I just think this whole thing is going to be about finding a way. If you really read the press and you read the newspaper clippings and you hear it come out of Bill Edwards and Jay Dalton and all these people's mouths, it's all about getting more money. What makes you believe this constitutional convention is not going to be all about getting more money from the citizens?
Well, certainly that's what Governor Edwards is all about, absolutely. But he's against this proposal, I mean, he's working hard against this proposal. So he doesn't favor this proposal at all, but you're certainly right. He's also getting more money. I mean, he likes to actually point to the restrictions in the present Constitution as an excuse for constantly pushing for more money. Mm-hmm. I'd rather fix those issues so we can deal with the significant taxpayer dollars that already go to state government.
Do you think if they had a constitutional convention and this thing, even though y'all lobbying to have it, do you think if this thing would come out and it looks like it's going to really tax the hell out of the small business and the middle class, are you going to be one of the first ones to jump up and say, we don't need this?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I absolutely will, number one. And if those sort of significant negative provisions are there, look, you can't take anything for granted,
sure.
But I don't think that would ever pass a vote of the people, nor should it.
Well, you know, I'll try to beat the hell out of it anyway. David Vitter, David,
sure.
great hearing from you, and hope to hear from you soon again.
Thanks, man. Enjoyed the visit.
All right, former Senator David Vitter. All right, we'll take a break. We'll bring Joe Katz back in. Joe's sitting there rolling his eyes. We'll let him tell us what's on his mind. The eyes don't roll if something ain't in the brain. You're on the spotlight next, brother. We'll take a break. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, hello. Welcome back, Moon Griffon Show. We always say we ought to tape what's off the air and put it on there.
No, we shouldn't.
Joe Katz, who's sitting in with us, he would be run out of Louisiana for saying, you should never say something.
That's what the internet is for.
I'm saying Joe Katz said something. You should have never said he'd be run out of the state. Joe said, what the heck is that all about? I said, well, Joe, you got 30 minutes to defend yourself. After that, I'll get you. Anyway, good to see you again, man.
He's here.
He's here, Coastal Carolina, playing the Cajuns tonight, Saturday and Sunday. Going to be a great series, and they're playing really well. If you say Coastal Carolina, who is that? That's the team that won the national championship, 3 years ago?
2016, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. 2 years ago. They won the whole thing.
And we came through Baton Rouge to do it.
Yeah, if you have to go through Baton Rouge, and when they were having some good teams.
Oh, yeah.
They were really good. As a matter of fact, Stony Brook had got to the World Series through Baton Rouge one time, too. Not cutting Tigers. I'm just saying. Matter of fact, one of the Tiger fans, they'll be cursing me in a minute. But it did, Stony Brook. We didn't know what a Stony Brook was. I don't know if they've had a great team since.
They're not too bad, I think, Stony Brook. But I don't think they came through the box and did it.
Yeah, they did.
Did they?
Right?
Oh, did they? Okay.
No,
all right.
All
right.
Matter of fact, they came before y'all did.
Oh, okay.
And Stony Brook won and went to. They didn't have the success y'all had. Y'all actually won the national championship. Hey, by the way, real quick, out of those guys that were on that team, any of them make the majors yet? Any of them still in the minors yet? Because y'all had some really. I was almost saying thugs. That's not right. Y'all had some studs.
Studs.
So
there are a couple of guys. Remillard, I think he's with the Rockies, and Paez is with the Mets. But I think a few other guys have gone and already went, and now are doing some other things. That's the thing.
Those are two guys that they're in the majors.
No, they're not in the majors. They're in the minors, working their way through. But I think that's one of the great things in that. Baseball is a little bit different than some of the other sports. Is you don't necessarily need to have big league talent to win a conference championship, win a national championship. Oh, no. You get a bunch of guys that believe in something and feel a little confident and get hot at the right time. Anything can happen in this game.
And that's what really happened. Y'all were good all year, but boy, when you got hot at the end, you were really hot.
And we had a guy, Andrew Beckwith, who was lights out. I think he threw 18 innings during the College World Series. No runs scored against him. This is a guy that throws about 83, 84 miles an hour from 3 different arm slots. A guy, he got drafted, he already got released. He just had a baby.
But what happens, though, is if you can throw strikes first and you change speeds. My daddy used to tell me that since I was 9 years old. Changing speeds is bigger than any. Throwing strikes is number one.
Right.
Changing speeds is number two.
So that's
and look, and I had another guy who played in the majors for 10 years, Mike Dijon, and he would tell me all the time that if you threw the ball really hard, you can get away with some mistakes. Not all of them, but you can get away with some.
So
you throw it so hard.
You'll see that tomorrow with our starter, Jason Billis. He's in the mid-90s. If he's got his control on, he's going to be tough to beat. But tonight we got a steady Eddie guy that just throws strikes, pounds the zone, pitches to a lot of contact, and hopefully the defense plays behind him and we got a chance to win.
That'd be an interesting thing. All right. You sitting over here rolling your eyes, having fun. I had the Senator Vitter on. I'm going, we bring you into this, talking about nothing that you even know anything about, but yet just your thoughts.
So while I was chewing on some boudin while I was watching, and I was, because I was entertained thoroughly, this conversation in which I thought a large part of it had to do with, I thought this was going to be a debate. This was a conversation in which the senator agreed with you on many of the points that you would bring up.
Is that your analogy?
I mean, one of the analysis, one part of it, and I thought the other part that I took from this, and it's in many governments across the country, from local, state, up in Washington, from one swamp to the other, was that it seems like the lawmakers who are elected to do their jobs just are unwilling or unable or just do not want to do some of the things that they are tasked with after they're put in elected office.
I tell you what, there's so many levels at the government level, the bureaucracy, and what's happening is we got so many people that once they're getting a check, they're not releasing it. Now, you think about that. When Obamacare, the fear of Obamacare was once somebody got something for nothing, and I'm talking about through Medicaid or through subsidies, now all of a sudden, well, you can't take that away from me. And that's what happens. You got so many people on the government tit, for lack of a better word, that are there, and they can't make it without it, because they are so used to having a check or a service given to them. I
think it's a shame, and I point towards education a lot of times. One of those required payments from state government, in that these administrators get paid some big money. I don't know necessarily what they do every day. I'm sure they have a lot of meetings to talk about. Don't know what exactly, but maybe those administrators there that are making the six figures. I know in our neck of the woods we've got several local administrators making upwards of 150, 160,000. We're talking K through 12 education here.
Oh my God, here. If you're a superintendent of a school or president of a university or head of a municipality, I'll tell you what they did. They just gave the sheriffs a raise. So their average salary is $172,500.
The head of our UNC system, the North Carolina system, which is the president in charge of 17 campuses, not sure what they do every day, like I said, she just got back-to-back $95,000 performance bonus raises in consecutive years here over the last 2 years.
Brandon Como kind of money.
I mean, and then they want to talk about school security and whatnot. Why don't you shave off about $25,000, $30,000 of each school administrator and put it into the schools for security, and then we may not have a problem. Yeah. And you're still making well above the median income and still living plenty comfortably on the lake or on the beach or wherever they reside. It's pretty amazing how backwards we are.
Let me give you, because I know you didn't get to hear me this morning, and I talked about this earlier. Commission of Administration is Jay Darden. He was one ran for governor. Now check this out. He got to be governor. He's the co-governor. He got 15% of the vote. Nobody wanted him. Okay, nobody. Now he used to win some statewide races, but when he got in the major league, they didn't want somebody that liberal. Well, when Bobby Jindal was the governor, he had administrator. He raised all these salaries. Brandon, I'm laughing at you now. They raised all these salaries. So one of the places they raised to the governor before the one we have now, they raised that position to $204,000. Now, that came up from like 130, 140. I mean, it was a big upswing. So this governor, who's the governor now, his co-governors, they complained that Jindal raised all these salaries. So when he got elected, you know the first thing he did?
Raised the salaries.
He raised the administrative salary, which has already came up 60, 70, 80,000 to $237,500. Now, here's how Darden plays in. Darden was one of the guys running against David Vitter, who you just talked to. Well, he got his little measly 14, 15%. But him and another guy hated on Vitter the rest of the campaign. And I made the call. But that's my witness right there. I said, Jay Darden would be the next administrator because they started pushing the Democrat, the liberal Democrat. Okay? So he pushed him. Then they defeated Vitter. And I said his ship came in. And it did. 237.5. And if he stays there for 3 years, and this is his third year, his retirement is based off the best 3 years in state government. He's going to have 30 years, plus at 237.5, the most he ever made was 115. So his salary in retirement at 115 was going to be a measly right under $9,000 a month for the rest of his life. He's about 61.
Wow.
But since he stabbed Vitter, this is a fact, man. This is all laid out. He stabbed Vitter in the back and became a liberal leftist Democrat. By the way, most liberal Republican you ever seen. He now would get, you ready, over $18,000 a month the rest of his life. All he had to do was stab a Republican in the back, and he became governor. He's a co-governor. He's helping run everything. So not only did the 85% of the people say, hell no, do you think his ship came in?
I mean, this is this is what you talk about cashing in your chips. I mean, I'm not really sure. I'm sure there are a lot of meetings and a lot of things that I'm not privy to as to what goes on behind the doors of government. What do they actually do? That's the question.
Here's the thing. This guy was in office for 30 years. Nobody can tell me what he did. But if you're a foreigner to us, you come in and I tell you that story, and by the way, I can document everything I told you. Don't you go, what the hell are y'all doing here?
Well, I think there are a lot of good people that try to get into this, and then oftentimes they are quickly swayed by that almighty dollar. And and on both sides of that, we get the government we deserve. The listeners out there probably tuned into this program every day for a couple of hours a day every morning aren't those people. Those are the people that are voting and are interested in why their state runs or doesn't run. There are another fact of the society that is probably about 60%, maybe even more, that could care less. And as long as they continue to get something, it's going to be harder and harder to persuade people to get off the government rolls and to make something for themselves. And I know that may offend some people.
I told Brandon, if the next governor comes in and wants to hire me at 237.5, the
problem
is I don't have those 27 years in to get to 30. But at 237.5, if they told me I could make $18,000 a month the rest of my life if I retired, and the insurance, wouldn't you call that your ship coming in?
I mean, and then, we could talk about even with teachers and teacher pay. I mean, they often, when they have these studies, they often leave out like cost of living wages, what it costs to live in certain areas of the country. They also leave out the $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 in benefits and in pension plans. They don't include that in the annual salary.
I'll tell you what, they're talking about. We'll go with this. They're talking about a strike here.
Oh yeah, in North Carolina as well.
Teachers. I just said what I would do with teachers. Trade your retirement system for your pay raise. They wouldn't. The retirement system's guaranteed by the Constitution. With the best retirement system in the world is right here in Louisiana. They're not going to trade that. And I got family members that teach. I would never trade their retirement system for nothing.
Right.
Anyway, we got to take a break. Joe Katz, my special guest. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. All right, how y'all are? Welcome back, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. Hey, by the way, and I'll take you to the place. I want to mention my good friends at Shucks. Brandon keeps saying he's going, but I don't know if it's true or not.
We're going tomorrow.
Well, good.
Yeah, we're going tomorrow.
Place in Abbeville, Louisiana. And, Joe, if you want to really taste, and by the way, we don't cut anybody here. There's so much good Cajun cuisine here. It's not funny. But if you take the short drive right down Johnson Street on 167 and go to Shucks, and from oysters to fresh shrimp to, I'm talking about redfish and drum. The shrimp are that big when they fry them or grill them. Shucks is a great place. The atmosphere there is second to none. They really do. They put on a show for everybody, and the food's great. You see how you dress? You almost overdress. Joe's in a T-shirt and short. What I mean by that is it's a very, very casual atmosphere. So people go there, and they really do. They hang out. They have a great time. Waiting at Shucks for 45 minutes is not waiting at all. Because you go there with your friends, pretty soon you look up, you're sitting down, and all of a sudden you're enjoying the food. So the atmosphere matches the food, and the food is awesome. So how about that? A combination of atmosphere and food at Shucks. David and Bird do a wonderful job. Their waitresses and waiters have been there for a long, long time. You an oyster eater at all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I got oysters on a half shell. They char grill them many different ways. But if I could get you to go, and I'm hoping if something works out tomorrow, I'm going to bring you. They got one called a seafood. Is it what I told you? Ultimate seafood oyster, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it is. And tell you that they char grill it with lump crab meat and shrimp. Now, I got to ask you, oyster's pretty good by itself.
Oh, yeah.
How's that bad?
It's not. I may skip out on tomorrow's ball game and just go over there.
I tell you what, if I could get you there, I promise you I'd bring you there. But anyway, a great place to go. Joe Katz, my special guest. He is the voice of the Coastal Carolina, which is they're playing the Raging Cajuns this weekend. He came in. I appreciate you. I'm telling you, next year, Now, Brandon, I'm saying this now. Next year, and I might not come for 7 days, but for about 3 nights, Brandon, you're welcome. I want to go to I want to come to the coast. That would be a great getaway. I'm sure y'all have beautiful facilities too, and just being on the coast. And I've never been there before. I've just never been that far that way.
Carolina Coast is a beautiful place. The quality of life there is great. The cost of living there is relatively speaking, as compared to where I come from, born in the Northeast. Actually, I was nearly born in Shreveport, Louisiana. And
how in the hell did you know that you weren't there yet?
Well, because that's the story I've been told from my parents. Because my family had operated an appliance business here in the state of Louisiana for about 25 years before Katrina came, and then they left because they were living in Metairie, and then they moved, relocated, retired, got out of the business, and made some pretty good money down here in Louisiana. So I've always kind of had this little special part of the country kind of close to me.
Absolutely, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, really.
You almost were one of us.
Almost.
Now you're coming down here trying to kick our butt. And he's already bragged about kicking my Warhawks. By the way, did they even get close?
The Sunday's game last Sunday, 17-16 in baseball.
A lot of pitching.
4 hour and 52-minute baseball game. 1-man broadcast crew. That's a lot of stories for 5 hours.
I should have went up there with you and co-hosted it with you.
I basically slept through like the middle portion of the innings because the Warhawks were up, I think, 9-4 at one time, and I just kind of said, all right,
I
could
have came up there and been the color guy for you.
Come and join me tonight.
By the way, that's a seafood salad. That's got crab, shrimp, and crawfish.
Well, Brandon, can you get a fill-in later on this afternoon? You can bring me out over there?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to steal our coach's rent-a-car and take it out down there.
No doubt about it. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. April unemployment, 3.9%. Trump's approval up to 51%. Where would Trump's approval be if the press was just covering the president like a regular president? If they had been pro-Trump like they were pro-Obama, he'd be at 97 right now.
My big thing is, policy decisions aside, the language that comes out of him oftentimes, may turn people's heads. I just like the fact that he talks about America and being first and being competitive against the rest of the world, given the fact for the last, 3, 4, 5, 6, since I've been alive, when I was born in the Ronald Reagan era, that we haven't talked about America being competitive.
Since Reagan, probably.
I mean, really, and just laying it out there the way he sees it. Politicians will give you, a Senator Vitter type of conversation where they tiptoe around all of the issues or then kind of, agree to disagree with you, even though it's hard to figure out whether he's agreeing or disagreeing with you. That's a typical lobbyist in political speak. That's just how it comes. Trump is obviously not that guy, and that's why there are so many people in Washington, in the media, that have come out, frankly, and just are trying to get the guy out of office. He's not going anywhere, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to vote for him again in 2020. I don't care how many adult film stars he's paid off. I don't care. We knew who Donald Trump the man was before he got into office. We knew who he was.
Yeah, but you notice, there's nothing he's done since he's been in office. They're focusing on stuff before he became even a politician.
20 years ago when he's rising.
And this is what Mueller and the press is doing. They never vetted. If they would have vetted Barack Obama before he ran against Hillary, Barack Obama would have been slammed in the Democrat primary. But that's what happens. And I made the comment, not to get into racial stuff, the Democrat Party's on the black vote, and the black vote said, here's one of ours now. And we're voting for him, and he jumped on it at the right time. There was no doubt. And they had beat George Bush so bad. And by the way, I didn't think anybody could get beat up any worse than Bush did. And I don't think he was a great president by no means, but boy, they beat him up until Trump came along. And now they quoting Bush against Trump. Now you notice how they do that? They make a villain, they go after the villain, and then they make him a hero. What's the Senator McCain? They made McCain a hero during the Bush years. Soon as he ran for president, they brought that cat down to his knees, and now that he hates Trump. Of course, I'm sorry, he's got brain cancer. Don't get me wrong. But they're making him a hero again because he hates Trump. And that's what the press does. They pick sides.
If there's ever been a better argument for term limits, John McCain comes to mind. And again, off of his health.
Lindsey Graham.
And Lindsey Grahamnesty is what we call him in North Carolina. Grahamnesty, because he just goes with the political flow. Whichever way the wind blows, that's where he goes. We have a junior senator, Tom Tillis, who was a former speaker of the House at the state legislature. Great guy. He'd come on our show, talk to us all the time. Then he got up into Washington, and quickly now he's drawing up bills to protect Robert Mueller as a co-sponsor of the bill, along with that snowflake guy out in Arizona. And again, Lindsey Grahamnesty coming up.
The only guy, and I know you just heard him, Senator Vitter was the only one when he left. He stayed with us, and he ran into some problems. He even stayed with us. John Kennedy and Cassidy are still coming around. Normally, they didn't come back at all. But when I finally, matter of fact, at one time with Senator Landrieu and Breaux, and I don't know if Bennett was still around. They were always Democrats. I had never interviewed one of our senators on it because they wouldn't come on the program. And then Landrieu would come on every year before election. And that was it.
Of course.
And she would always come on like in July, which is way before the election came around. And she'd come one time and then she would leave.
We have a state representative that represents us locally in our state legislature, and one of the funny things that he continues to talk all the time about not having all these excuses to come on the show. So we just read out aloud our email exchanges on the air about why he does not want to come on. Full transparency on our show. We're not hiding anything. We're not angels, but we're not hiding anything.
No doubt about it. By the way, folks, Joe Katz, thank you. Hopefully we'll see you again before the weekend's over. By the way, you've been listening to the Moon Griffon Show, the most nonpartisan, non-political show on air today, anywhere you go. That's right, nonpartisan and non-political. See you Monday. Joe, thanks. God bless.
Thanks, brother.
All right, man.